All right. Hello, all. This is Andy McCabe, your claim doctor. I've got Patrick. How do you spell your pronounce your last name? Kelahan. Kelahan.
Kelahan.
Kelahan. Patrick Kelahan. Patrick and I hooked up earlier this month or last month on LinkedIn, and I had to have him on the show. So I'm not gonna waste any more time with an intro. He's got a very diverse and interesting background. One thing I would like to say, from my point of view, from our point of view, our restoration contractor, she comes from the dark side. So it's going to be an interesting conversation to say the least. But I was very impressed with the conversations that I was witnessing that Patrick was involved in, and come to find out he worked for Allstate for a number of years, which I was just completely shocked about. So with that kind of introduction, Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you fit into this whole restoration industry mix?
All right, great, Andy. I appreciate the invite. It's good stuff. And you call it the dark side, but I don't. I'm just a worker guy.
Right.
I work with H2M engineers and architects, and they're a full-service architecture firm and engineering in Long Island, New York. But I was hired about 6 months ago to work with the insurance carriers that H2M also works with.
Sure.
All right, taking a peek forward to see what's going on, and the whole forensic market strategist. I have no idea where they came up with that title, but
it sounds like a great one.
Just so you know, I still have my yellow trench boots and nail bag in the back of my garage.
There we go.
So prior to Allstate, well, I was 20 years with Allstate. Claim management, quality evaluator. Talk about the dark side.
QE.
Also authority consultant. I also did thousands of claims.
Okay.
The last 10 years, I was working with staff as a manager. So did all kinds of stuff. Before that, I was with a short stint at Home Depot, of all things, waiting for the Allstate gig to open up.
Okay.
Worked in millwork.
Okay.
I worked with the U.S. the SBA disaster program for 4 years. Going out there, hurricanes and earthquakes. My first gig was the Northridge earthquake.
Northridge put a lot of restoration folks on the map.
Yes, it did. But I also was a GC for several years. Residential, light commercial, all kinds of stuff. I was mayor of a village in upstate New York until we moved to our current place. So I've just had all kinds of stuff going on.
Good for you. And let me clarify that part of my mission with the Claim Clinic podcast, and I'm also starting this other cute little thing called the Restoration Rebel Movement.
Yeah.
I am under no illusion that we can do any of this alone. We the more people I talk to on all sides of the claim equation, the more I realize that we're not the only ones that see, on the contractor side again, we're not the only ones that see that things are broken. And it's going to take a very collaborative, very non-confrontational approach to fix the things that we all see need to be fixed. So I'm all teasing aside. I want to make sure that everyone knows that I don't really see it as a dark side. We're all playing the same. We're playing in the same arena, and we need to realize at the end of the day, it's all about the insured client and making them whole. So there we go.
Absolutely, and certainly I've been a customer service person for almost 40 years. Hard to imagine. Big box retail, all types of stuff. So I'm a customer service person. So I look at all of it as the customer starts everything. I never had problems with public adjusters, never had problems with appraisals, any of that. But, estimating stuff you butt heads. So what I'd like to do is approach this. You and I spoke about waiver and estoppel. Now that's something most of your colleagues, the restoration folks, I don't know if any of them even have heard of the phrase.
Well, it sounds like something that comes with blueberry syrup and butter.
It could be, exactly, absolutely. But it's important because I would imagine that most of the disagreements that the restoration industry gets are driven by not a full understanding of
Uh-oh. Did we lose? Hello. Oh no. All right, we had technical difficulties. We're going to edit this part out, but misunderstanding is going to claims process. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, so ultimately, the customer's in the middle. And we've
Yes.
got the restoration contractor on one side, you got the adjuster carrier on the other side.
Yes.
And over time, adversity builds.
Yes.
Right? And then
We didn't wake up just one day.
no,
Oh man, it was awesome yesterday, and today it sucks. Yeah.
right. Public adjusters wouldn't exist if it wasn't for adversity driven by the industry. All right, so let's set that aside.
Okay.
Let's look at if you look at what the customer at the end of the day needs to be repaired, whatever, taken care of. The adjuster says, all right, I'm going to do it within the bounds of what my company says. And the restoration person says, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I still have to make a little bit of money though.
Yep.
Right. I still have to live. So where in your opinion, Andy, do you think the problem begins? It doesn't begin at the end when there's an estimate and work is done.
Not usually, no.
No. Well, let me ask this question a different way. Is there often let's say there's two primary ways a restoration vendor gets involved. One, the customer calls them and says, look, I have work I have to get done.
Yep.
The other one is the insurance company says, you're part of my program. We're going to hook you up through a third-party administrator, go out, conquer, do all that stuff that you need to do. Either way, what is constant? The damage. The damage is a constant. There's no question.
Yep.
All right. But whose eyes are looking at it? The prism colors the outcome.
Absolutely.
Right? So
I would say, to answer your question, the most problems I see arise happen when the contractor doesn't have a clear idea of who the end client is. When we have to split our loyalties, that's where I see the most conflict. And I actually see it three different loyalties involved. You got the carrier who may or may not have brought you in. You've got your boss who you've actually got to, and even if you work for yourself, you've got a boss. He just might be a jerk at that point, but you still got to make money. And you got the client who, sometimes they just want to be put back together, but sometimes they have a profit motive as well.
Of course.
So you have the potential for three profit motives with conflicting. That's where I see a lot of this happening.
Right. So say you've got it's a new claim, it's whatever. You might get set up, and I'm saying you as a restorer, you might get set up directly to go in and look at the work. The carrier says, no, it's a small claim. You're part of our program. Go in, estimate it, plan to get the work done. The customer says everything is cool. So you go on and you do that. You write the estimate up. You use Xactimate. You use all the methodology that Xactimate has, that robust number of...
It's a beast.
Wait. Yeah, it's a beast. I think they're up to 24,000 or 25,000 operations. All those material notes that explain how they come up, all of supporting events, all of that stuff, all of the overhead and profit issues.
Easy now. That's another episode.
That's a whole new episode. But all those things, you go in, you look at the damage. The damage is the damage. I don't care who looks at it. So if the carrier says, you just go in and do it. We trust you. Go in and...
Oh, shoot. All right, we got a small claim. Carrier says go and take care of it. We trust you to take care of it. Just go get her done. We've got an agreement that we understand it's going to be $5,000 or less. Go ahead.
So the carriers then said, we're waiving our right to inspect. Yes,
they are. Yeah, okay. They're sending a vendor. They're waiving their right to inspect. Yes, absolutely.
Right to inspect. So you go in, or no, the contractor, I don't want to say you. I like to keep pronouns out of this stuff. The contractor looks at it, writes the estimate, might even get the work done.
Yep.
because we want to be prompt. We want to be good service people. Then the estimate gets to the desk adjuster, and Sue Smith says, "What? You can't do X, Y, and Z on this. That's not our methodology."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Have you ever heard that before?
No, never. Mm-mm.
Okay. Consider if as a contractor, the contractor's doing dry downs or mitigation work, and you have all the psychrometric data, you have all those things that you need, and you've done the work, because by the time somebody sees it, you've done the work.
Yeah.
And someone
There's
questions,
no waiting on mitigation. Yeah, you got to get it done.
So we're questioning what your methodology is. Now the contractor just sends a lump sum bid. It's $4,952. The carrier says, not a chance. What? Are you crazy? You got to itemize this out. Well, of course, that's the extreme case.
Yeah.
So, but if a contractor takes the Xactimate platform or whatever you're using, most people use Xactimate because that's what the industry supports, applies the methodology that Xactimate has built, because you've agreed to use it.
Yep.
The carrier says you're going to use it. You even put some of the material notes in to explain your methodology.
Sure.
Of what's going on. Here's why I did it. You have all that. The carrier's in a tough spot to say you can't get paid for that because they have waived the inspection.
Yes.
Right? So the carrier will say, we're not going to pay you that. But who's going to suffer? You as the contractor could put a mechanics lien against
the
customer because you have your agreement.
Yep.
You're either going to get paid by the carrier or not. That's where estoppel comes in. So they've waived their right to inspect. You've done what you should. You've described it well. The customer has trusted that what the insurance company is telling you to do on their behalf is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't pay based on what is good basis in the industry, they are estopped from not doing it because they will have put the customer at financial harm. All right?
Okay.
It happens all the time.
It sure does. Yep.
Right? And you don't want to whack the customer. Mrs. Smith.
No, that's not a fun way to get paid.
It's a terrible way. But the insurance carriers don't necessarily, I don't want to say the carriers, the individual adjuster looking at your things. They've got pressures from their company. You got to do it a certain way. There's arbitrary folklore methodology that comes up.
God, I love that you said that. Thank you. Okay.
I am an insurance guy, 20 years, who dealt with, 20,000 estimates. I know this happens. It doesn't mean the insurance people are bad people.
No.
They're following their rules, but it happens. And if the carriers are stopped from doing it, does that mean they're going to pay you anyway? Probably not. All right. Because, for $500. So what does a contractor do? I got to get paid. My 8-year-old broke my iPad. I need to buy a new one. I'll take 90% of what I build.
Yeah. They end up just shaving it.
Right. You shave it, but it's not right.
No.
Because the scope is the scope. The estimating system is the estimating system. But where possibly did the contractor go wrong in this situation? I don't want to say wrong. Where could it have gone more right?
Okay.
All right. Where could it have gone more right when the third-party administrator, Alacrity or VeriClaim or whoever, sends you out as part of the program, and you haven't whoever, don't have good images, don't have good scope notes, haven't sent an initial note through Exact Analysis saying, here's what I found, here's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Clearly emailed to that desk adjuster, and we all know it's in there, but we all know we don't follow that all the time.
Yeah. And that's where I see the biggest problem is exactly right. And you can say this is going out to the restoration contractor, biased client or audience. So you can say you all you want today, Patrick. That's where I see the problems. People get so excited, just go in there and get it done. And especially the newer guys like they just see dollar signs and good, right, or indifferent. They just see dollar signs because, it's an insurance loss. It's my first or second loss. I'm going to go in there and get it done. They don't take pictures. They don't document it correctly. They don't explain why the psychrometrics may or may not support the drying equipment they use. and they try to hammer this big bill down somebody's throat just by saying, I did it, pay me. And that's not a good recipe for success.
Yeah, it's and shame on them, because that then says I'm now in an adversarial relationship with this adjuster.
Yeah.
And each claim resides in its own place. Even if you have a disagreement on claim 1, on claim 2, it's a fresh start. Every claim has its own facts. Every claim has its own needs. Every claim requires a couple of things, though: clean scope and communication out the you know what. All right.
Wazoo. We can use
Wazoo. The wazoo is a good word. So there are a lot of ways that contractors get involved. You get a call in the middle of the night. You need to tarp this roof. The shingles are blown off. The contractor goes out. It's just a straight up gable, but the shingles are here and there. So what happens? The tarp goes on the whole thing. There's nails put through. He didn't bring anything except 16 penny nails. So man, this tarp is just nailed to snot everywhere. And because it's 1 square of damaged shingles, the adjuster then says, well, what? We're not paying for that whole roof. You did the damage. The contractor says, look, you sent me out in the middle of the night. I did what I could, but did you do what you could? You overreached, right? So there's all these things. You have to tread with a duty of care to support your waiver and estoppel. If there's 1 square of shingles and you're putting a tarp on, but you cover the whole thing and you nail the snot out of it everywhere, and now the only damage on the back side of the roof is because you put 16 penny nails in, that isn't necessarily supportable unless you say, look, there was no way to tarp this. This was a wood shingle roof. I had to wrap it under and put furring strips on the eave, right? There's a technical knowledge that needs to be applied and communicated.
Well, in that particular scenario, would you advocate just walking away and not tarping if you can't do a good job?
Who suffers? Who suffers? The customer.
Well, the damage has already been done to the one square.
Right. But it hasn't leaked into the house yet. So I'm not advocating walking away. I'm advocating put good methodology into place.
Okay.
You don't send out the guy, the 18-year-old you hired yesterday who's got the strong back and the weak mind, happens to know how to start a pickup truck. Take pictures, understand what has to happen. And roof tarping I bring up because it is a challenge. You can't just put a roof tarp over the 1 square in the middle of a slope because it's going to leak anyway. You have to wrap it over the top. You have to do whatever. It's got to make sense.
Well, I'm hearing all of the arguments and the screaming at the computers right now. So let me go. Let's go a different route.
Yep.
Same question, similar question. Ice dams. We had last year in Bend. We just got hammered. We had roofs in town with 5 and 6 feet of snow and ice on them.
Yeah.
30.
I live in ice dam territory.
Yeah, 30,000 plus homes in the county just got really, really bad damaged. Well, we had carriers saying, the ice dam is your problem. That's your problem. Take care of it. And what did people do? Well, they went.
Her problem, the customer's problem?
Yes, the customer's problem. This is your house. It's your ice dam. You need to take care of business. Get rid of the ice dam. So what did people do? Oh, they got rid of the ice dams and a whole lot of shingles with it.
Yeah, they took the demolition hammer up to get the ice off.
They took the sledgehammers. They took the rakes, the garden rakes, not the snow rakes, and they did damage to their own roofs.
Right.
Based on the premise that it was their problem. Who's liable for that damage?
Well, here let me touch on that because it is something I was going to touch on. In most policies, the customer has in the insuring agreement,
a duty to mitigate, yes.
Duty to protect the property against the cause of loss that the policy covers. So John Doe, not a roofer. He says, all right, I'm going to go up. I've got my square end spade. I'm going to go up and I'm going to chop it. All right. It causes damage. That customer is doing what is reasonable for a homeowner. That really is something that customer says, look, you told me to. I've got it documented. I talked to Mary Jones in the claim customer service office. She said, do what you need to do. I even wrote it down.
Yep. I got her phone number. Yes.
I've got her phone number. and now there's damage up there. I didn't know that was going to happen. I need that roof slope paid for.
Mm-hmm.
The contractor can't necessarily do that, but if the contractor says, all right, I'm here, the customer said this is what's happened. She talked to Mary Jones. It's in exact analysis. I've scoped this out. She was told to do this. She did this. I'm including the roof in my slope.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to refute. But if you get the backup and say, look, what do you think they were going to do? There's all this stuff. You got to pay for the slope. And wait, and now the back doesn't match. I got to pay for the whole thing.
Yep.
Now you get into adversarial land.
Okay.
If you follow, and the first thing a contractor should ask that customer, you talk to your insurance company, what did they tell you to do? They told me to do this. Who did you speak with? Okay, you spoke with Mary. You put it down, it goes in exact analysis. Here's what I'm doing. You may have to do more snow removal. You get the big rake, you get whatever. Document, because now they have waived. They didn't send an adjuster out to look at it, right?
Nope.
All right. So they waived the inspection. They've told the customer, do what you need to do. It's your problem. But the policy says it's both parties' problem because the customer is supposed to protect and the insurance company pays for sudden and accidental direct physical loss.
Okay.
They're part and parcel. They can't just say it's not us. They can't. They can try.
Is there a term proximate cause?
Of course, proximate cause.
So would proximate cause play into that as well or no?
If someone took a blowtorch up, you take your flat roof,
which we saw.
Yeah. and you take the torch up and the guy, the 18-year-old with the strong back and the weak mind stands there in one spot. And
then he lights the house on fire.
He lights the house up. Now the proximate cause is the torch. Right.
I wish that had never happened. I wouldn't be laughing as hard.
Yeah, and it does happen. If the customer's up there with a hammer or an axe or something, chop, 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 and shingles get damaged, and you see those horizontal lines, vertical lines, you see broken tabs. That is not proximate cause. That is part of them doing what they need to do to prevent further damage in their house.
Okay, interesting. So to review, they have the waiver and estoppel. They've waived their right to inspect.
Yes.
So it's stopped from not paying for it. Is that?
Yeah, and again, that's each state may have different ways they apply that.
Okay.
And there are different degrees of it.
Sure.
But if they tell the customer, the ice dam is not our problem, you have to take care of it in order to comply with the policy. Now they are waiving any look at what's happening, and they're telling the customer to do something. And the customer, everyone has a different impression of what they need to do. Some throw socks up with calcium chloride.
Or salt. My advice goes contrary to what I believe most desk adjusters are going to tell people to do. My advice is leave it.
Get rid of the other snow that's up there.
Let it run its course, because guess what? Nature is going to do it. And I see where my advice might run into trouble after this conversation is if there's no water inside the house yet, and I recommend someone just leave it, and then water comes in the house, they could say, well, you told me to leave it, even though in my gut says the water was going to come in anyway. So,
but even that, you can couch those phrases in, gee, every ice dam is different. Right now, there's not water coming in. There's multiple things you could do. One is leave it. It's going to work its way out. Two is get a snow rake and get all the excess snow off as best you can, because then there's not going to be more water coming in. Three is get up there with a jackhammer. If you advise them to do that, it's going to cause damage. So it's all in matters of degrees. But
yes,
what do you know to support your claim to the customer and to the carrier? What did the carrier advise them? And these claim service centers populated with lots of folks that are just going off a script saying, do what you need to do to protect your house from further damage. The ice dam typically is not part of the covered loss, blah, 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 blah. Every customer is going to look at it differently.
Yeah.
Some get up there with ball peen hammers and make their roof something that gets paid for because they have that ulterior motive.
Yeah. I believe that's not the majority. I would say that's
No,
the extreme
absolutely.
minority, but it does happen.
The primary ones that you see are the folks that get up there and they've got either an axe or a hammer or a shovel, and they're beating on it, and you end up with 3 feet up from the edge of the roof. You got creases and tabs broken off.
Yep.
And that's that, right?
Yeah.
And those are claims that need to get paid.
Yeah.
They just are. There's no other way. I can't put it any other way.
So let's go back to documentation.
Yep.
What do you say to folks? Once again, we're talking to restoration folks here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to folks that they do their documentation?
Mm-hmm.
They supply their psychrometrics.
Mm-hmm.
They supply the reasoning in a package with their mitigation invoice,
Mm-hmm.
and they still get pushback. They still get an adjuster says, "Well, we don't pay for that," or we, anything beyond 3 days, you can't. It goes outside of our realm. Speaking of fairy tales, a 3-day dry down, or you have masking in a room that's not affected. We're not going to pay for masking in a room that's not affected, even though you did it because you're walking through a living room in order to get to the bathroom, where's
Mm-hmm.
all the damage is. You don't want to cause further damage. All these things we hear.
There's 100,
Yeah,
1,000.
the package is there though. The documentation is there, and they're still getting pushback. Where should a guy go?
Number one, you get agreement on scope. Is the scope agreed to?
We're talking mitigation though. Mitigation, heat of the moment. You're over. Let's go holiday weekend. You're not going to
Bear with me.
Okay.
You've got a water backup in the basement.
Got it.
It's affected the far end of the finished space.
Okay.
You got to walk through it. You're taking your pictures. You have to put down plastic. You have to do all these things. You're hauling out wet carpet. You're doing whatever. Now, did the carpet get messy up front? Probably. And you got to shampoo it. And the adjuster says, well, you should have protected that. We're not going to pay for it. Right? Happens all the time. Well, that's extreme. At some point, if you don't have agreement on scope, you're doomed.
Okay.
Right? So get the agreement on scope. Here's what we're doing. Now you get into what's included in my estimate. And I think that's probably where you have the most pushback. You have, all right, this room needed 3 air movers and a DHU for 4 days. That one didn't. Here's my infrared that shows the change. Here's my moisture mapping. And I don't know if you guys do moisture mapping.
Oh, we do.
That's very useful. It's hard to refute evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if they say, we just don't pay it because we don't, customers may have to demand appraisal. I'm sorry, there's just no other way around it.
Yeah, appraisal and mitigation just sucks.
It really does, because the customer's going to spend $600-700 for an appraiser, and the difference is or more, and the difference might be less than $1,000.
Yeah.
So it starts with not having an adversarial relationship on every claim. Getting the buy-in of the person who is doing the approvals, and it's a pain because every carrier's got one. Maybe they have 3. I know in the office I worked in, it's like they're setting up their defenses. They're building the turrets and the walls, ready for a siege.
The moat, and then the wall, and then the cannon.
Dragons, exactly, all that stuff. So it's a matter of building trust, and it's hard because right now, all of your colleagues have their own siege machines.
Yes, true.
Trebuchets. All those things are set up to launch a siege against the carrier castle.
So what is the back door? How can we send our liaison through the back door where everyone's ready for a fight, but we meet in secret, or not in secret. Okay, let's not go there. But we meet on a non-adversarial front.
The horses come out with the white flags.
The horses and the white flags. How do we do that? You
get the customer as a partner right from the beginning. If the customer says, just do it, I don't want to know about it. You have to have them know what's going on. Look, here's what we're doing and why.
It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous.
No question. But you have to choose to what depth you share, because some of it's not going to matter to them. But if they understand, look, we're going to do this. This will be on the estimate. We got to go over there. And if the customer understands and it makes sense, then the customer is the one who's got to tell the adjuster, look, I saw they did all this stuff.
Yep.
The customer is Switzerland
Mm-hmm.
in all of these things because the adjuster doesn't give a rip about what you say.
Yeah.
You're a
Well,
blood-sucking, money-grubbing.
Yeah, and you're not party to the contract.
You're not party to the contract. But the customer says, look, I saw all this go on. I know they're here monitoring the equipment every day. I saw the mess that happened, and there's nothing they could do about it. Each roll of carpet weighed 197 pounds because it had water in it. Yeah. And the customer says, look, I looked at their estimate. It's cool. They're not going to think it's cool on a water backup, so maybe that's because you're sucking up all their money.
You can educate them to the point where they're able to say, there's nothing unreasonable.
Correct.
I don't see anything unreasonable for what they did and what they charged for.
Right.
And if you don't go through, and I'm talking to you out there, people, if you don't go through the process of educating your client, you're going to get schooled. And it's not going to be fun because the adjuster is going to eat your lunch. And it's not their fault. It's your fault for not educating your customer.
And who's got the power? The adjuster, because they've got the wallet.
Well, the adjuster, and then secondly, it's the client. The client's party to the contract. You've got no leverage, and we're not going to go down the whole assignment of benefits deal today. No. We're not going. So, in the absence of that, you have zero leverage. You are at the mercy of the parties to the contract, which is the client and the insurance company.
Let me word it a different way, Andy. If every time a contractor goes in, they keep the customer educated, they have excellent images, excellent psychometric data, they show up when they should show up, the customer trusts them, they do the work they do, and their estimate reflects all of the industry accepted scope and material notes, all that stuff. Most of the time, there's not going to be a problem. You're going to have some adjusters that say, nope, I just don't like it. And they could even be in violation of waiver and estoppel.
Sure.
And unless you push it, not you,
the
customer has to push it in court because you're going to ask the customer for the money. You're going to have some that just don't work out. But eventually, if you prove that you're someone they don't have to worry about, one thing they're going to start to understand, hey, I don't have to review this person's estimates as tightly because they're always good.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the problems are going to get reduced, and the adjuster's going to like you, and you're going to be in a funny place. No adversity.
That's a funny place.
That is a funny place.
But it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen right away. It does not happen on the first claim.
No.
Ever.
The contractor's habits have to be excellent.
Yes.
You have to tell a story. That's what I always told adjusters. The documentation has to tell the story of what your claim was. And then all this waiver and estoppel stuff, it's just not going to matter.
Contractors' habits have to be excellent. I love it.
Yes, they really do. And they have to be more excellent than the adjusters.
Yeah.
The contractor has to work extra hard, but how much extra time is it?
If you're doing it right, none. Yeah. None.
Brain muscle memory falls into place. That's my dog barking in the back.
Right.
Brain muscle memory is if your staff and you always do it the same way, you're always going to do it the same way. And that's a funny statement, but they're just going to be so used to it.
Yeah.
Well, right now, what happens when someone rolls up at a house? It's a water backup. What are you doing first? You're hauling equipment out.
It's the wrong way. What are you doing?
What are you doing? You got to go in. You've got to adjust the customer first. And you're not adjusters, but the customer, you have to earn the customer's trust that you're going to do the right thing.
You haven't even read my book, have you?
No, sir.
You didn't know I had a book.
No, sir.
First chapter, first step, 24-hour tech. It's a book about water technicians. Mm-hmm. First chapter is leave the equipment in the truck.
Right.
Go establish the rules of engagement. Go meet
Correct.
your client. Go set the stage for success.
Set the stage for success.
That's funny you said that. I'm not kidding. Chapter number 1.
But it is true to everybody listening to this thing. 10 minutes earning the customer's trust eliminates hours of aggravation down the road.
Or weeks. Or weeks,
potentially.
Oh, Patrick, this is awesome. Will you come on again?
Of course.
Again? Oh,
yeah.
You believe 45 minutes just went by like that?
Yeah, it's amazing. There's another piece I wanted to touch on
Go ahead.
real
Go ahead.
quick.
You got time.
For emergency stuff, as part of the waiver and estoppel, do you ever run into cases where you have to restore power or upgrade power in order to be able to do the work in the customer's house? They call you for
All the
emergency
time,
service.
especially
Right.
older homes. Yeah.
Right. So if they're fuse systems or they're just, 100 amp, whatever, and you have to do things and you do it and the adjuster says, no, that's upgrades. They don't have coverage for it. That's the piece you absolutely have to communicate ahead of time.
Mm.
Hey, they've got a 100 amp or they've got a 60 amp fuse system. In order for this dry down to happen, we need to have power. And if they say, no, that's an upgrade. Okay, great. We're bringing in
We're
our
bringing 100 kW.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Communication, pictures of the fuse system, documentation, because what's the goal of the insurance company? Get the customer mitigated. What's the customer trying to do? Protect the property against additional damage.
Mm.
And what do you have to do? You have to find a way to do it. And that's the cost of the claim.
And still make money.
Well, you have to make money. You can't do things if you can't dry the customer's house down because the system is undersized. You have to have a generator.
Yeah.
Or what's less costly? Gee, for $700, we can upgrade from a 60 to 100 amp.
Get a 100 amp panel in here, and then they're set. Yes.
Exactly. And it's less than you having a 10,000.
I like that because it's that 100 kW generator is gonna, let's say over 7 days or whatever it takes, you could be $7,000.
Right. And
versus $1,000 for a new panel.
What is more cost effective?
Yeah.
And they end up with an upgraded, but it's still less cost and it's still part of the claim.
Yeah.
Getting the dry down done. So I wanted to make sure I snuck that in.
I love that. That's great.
Don't give up on coverage not being there. You still have to get the work done.
Yeah. Still got to get it done.
Yeah.
Patrick, this was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm looking forward to our continued conversation. Yeah. You are, how did I get so lucky? I just find you. You just kind of showed up.
This is one of those things. And hopefully you see I'm not leaning to one side or the other. Who's at the center of this thing? The customer.
That's so right. That's so right.
That question.
So you get every guest gets the last word. Any parting words for the restoration guys out there?
No, just continue doing good work. Build some brain muscle memory. Leave the equipment in the truck, like Andy McCabe says in his book. That's it, man.
Thanks so much, Patrick.